Good luck.
Merhabalar. Bugün İngiltere'nin en köklü üniversitelerinden University of Glasgow'da akademik eğitim ve burs fırsatları hakkında seminerimize hoş geldiniz. Sorularınızı questions kısmından sorabilirsiniz. İyi seyirler. Mark, stage is yours now.
Thank you. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today's presentation. My name is Mark Stansfield. I'm the Senior International Officer here at the University of Glasgow. And I'm looking forward to hopefully giving you a little bit of an overview of the University of Glasgow during today's session. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. So please feel free to type those in the questions section, and I'll answer those at the end. So I'm going to try and cover as much as I can, and then allow some time for questions at the end. So thank you very much for joining me, and I'll now kick off with a little bit of a presentation. So yeah, I wanted to just kick off by giving a little bit of an introduction to the University of Glasgow. Then I'll talk a little bit about some of our subjects, how to apply scholarships, what life is like in the UK and particularly in Scotland. And then, as I say, kind of round off with some questions at the end. So, by way of an introduction, the University of Glasgow is one of the ancient universities of the UK. And we were founded all the way back in 1451. And we're the fourth oldest university in the English-speaking world. As you'll see there, and I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail, Glasgow has been voted the world's friendliest city, according to rough guides. We have lots of clubs and societies to get involved in, and almost 96% of our students and our graduates are in employment or further study within 6 months. So something that we're very proud of, in that what we're teaching you and the skills and knowledge that you're gaining from a Glasgow degree is applicable when it comes to looking for a job at the end of that, whether that be in the UK or whether it be back home or wherever else in the world that might be. And you'll also just note there in the corner, something that we're very proud of is that we were awarded the Times Higher Education University of the Year Award just back in December. So we were delighted to be honoured with that award, and just kind of highlighting again some of the kind of reputation that the University of Glasgow has. So on that note, in terms of a brief introduction to our kind of global reputation and ranking, we are one of the world's top 100 universities. So according to the QS World Rankings, we're 77th in the world. We're also in the top 100 in the Times Higher Education World University Rankings. We are a member of the Russell Group, which is a group of research-intensive universities in the UK. So a group of kind of elite universities that are kind of held up as the kind of gold standard in the UK, and particularly well known for our research output and the standard of research that we produce as universities. And we are ranked second in the Russell Group for student satisfaction. So that's feedback from our students about how is their experience at university, how is the standard of teaching, how are the facilities, what are the opportunities like, what is it like engaging with industry. So again, something that we are very proud of. We're a very international university at Glasgow as well. So this year we have approaching 30,000 students from over 140 different countries. So absolutely a very, very international university. And one that you would absolutely be welcome to be a part of. So hello to those that are just joining us. I can see in the chat function some people saying hello, so thank you for joining. And as I said at the beginning, if anyone has any questions, please do type them in the questions section, and I'll get to those at the end of the presentation. I don't want to dwell too much on rankings, because I think as an international student, when you're thinking about studying overseas, you have a number of different things to be thinking about. So there are absolutely ranking as one of them. Location, so where would you want to study? What type of university would you like to study at? So as you've seen at Glasgow, we have 30,000 students, so we're quite a large university, a very international university, based within Scotland's biggest city. But, you know, there are lots of factors to consider, you know, the cost of where you're looking to study, you know, links with industry, particular expertise. But we are a well-ranked university, and these are just some of the subjects that we are particularly well ranked for. So this is the complete university guide of UK subject rankings, and you can see there the sort of suite of programmes and subject areas that we are particularly well known for around the College of Science and Engineering, around social sciences, so things like accounting and finance. Our business school is triple accredited, and particularly strong also in the areas of kind of medicine and life sciences as well. So moving on then, as I mentioned at the beginning, we've been around since 1451, and we like to think that we've had quite a strong influence on the world over those years, and we do have a kind of number of notable alumni that I just wanted to highlight. The first being, for any economists that are in today's session, Adam Smith, the kind of founder of modern economic thinking, was a student and a professor at the University of Glasgow, and our business school is now named after him. It's the Adam Smith Business School at Glasgow. James Watt, who was a kind of key figure in the Industrial Revolution, was a graduate of Glasgow. Lord Kelvin, who developed the Kelvin temperature scale, also a graduate of Glasgow. John Logie Baird, who pioneered the invention of the television, came through Glasgow as well. Joseph Black, for any chemists, introduced our kind of understanding of gas, and we have 7 Nobel Prize winners and 7 Nobel laureates that have an association with the university. So we like to think that over the years we've had a strong influence. More recent examples: our First Minister in Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, is a graduate, a law graduate of Glasgow. The first ultrasound scan of an unborn fetus was developed at the University of Glasgow. The first use of antiseptic in surgery by Joseph Lister was also developed at Glasgow. So just giving you a flavour there of kind of our historical impact on the world, but that work continues, and we're very much looking to you know, our future world changers that will be joining us as students at Glasgow as well. Now, I just wanted to spend a couple of slides kind of introducing Scotland. As you can all probably tell from my accent, I'm a biased source. I'm from Glasgow. I've lived in Scotland my whole life, other than 1 year when I lived in Canada. So I'm biased, but Rough Guides voted Scotland the most beautiful country in the world in 2019, so don't take my word for it. The image that you can see in the background of the slide there, that's from Ben Ann, which is a hill that's around 40 minutes outside of the city of Glasgow. So some stunning landscapes, you know, like in Turkey, some beautiful scenery and beautiful countryside, very, very close to the university campus. So there's so much to do in Scotland as a student, you know, on your doorstep, our Highland adventures, mountain climbs. In the north of Scotland, we do get some snow, so winter sports are an option. Scotland is also kind of world renowned for its culture, for art, live music, theatre, festivals which take place every year, including the world's largest arts festival, the Edinburgh Fringe International Festival, which takes place in Edinburgh each year. I should just clarify that Glasgow is the biggest city in Scotland, and the 4th biggest in the UK. So you have London, Birmingham, Manchester, and then Glasgow. Edinburgh is the capital, and the two cities are linked with buses and trains. On the train it takes around 45 minutes to get from Glasgow to Edinburgh. So very, very easy to explore, to get across from city to city, and explore the rest of the countryside and fantastic culture that Scotland has to offer. Lots of festivals take place as well, so music festivals, literature festivals, comedy festivals. So in your spare time as a student, there's lots to get involved in as a student in Scotland, and some fantastic architecture and history that we have in Scotland as well. So moving on specifically to Glasgow, so Time Out magazine ranked Glasgow as one of the top 10 best cities in the world in 2019. I mentioned that we're the biggest city in Scotland. Just to set that in context, we have a total population of about 550,000 people. So just comparing that, for example, with Istanbul, we are the largest city in Scotland, but a relatively small city in comparison. So it's quite compact. It's very, very easy to get around. So really, really easy to get from the university, which is in the west end of the city, into where the hub of the shopping district is, with lots of shops and things. But the west end of the city, which I'll talk about in a minute, is where the university is based, but also has some fantastic cafes, shops, restaurants, and a nice little kind of community based around the university. Glasgow is a very friendly city. Each year I ask for feedback, or we ask for feedback from our international students on what their experience is of Glasgow as a city as well as the university. And one word that always comes back is friendly. Another is welcoming. You know, students generally feel that Scotland and Scottish people and people in Glasgow in particular are very warm and welcoming to international students who are coming to study with us. Despite being a former shipbuilding city, an industrial city, it's also a very green city. So we have over 90 parks and green public spaces. So Glasgow in Scottish Gaelic translates to Dear Green Place. So lots of nice green space to enjoy some downtime when you're not in lectures or studying in the library. And the image that you'll see in the background there is of a few live music venues, the Hydro and the Armadillo. And Glasgow is a UNESCO City of Music. So obviously currently with the pandemic, things are a little bit different, but in normal times there would be over 130 live music concerts taking place in the city every week, from everything from classical music through to techno and everything in between. So much, again, just to highlight for you to get involved in as a student, aside from your studies. And then finally, just to talk very briefly about the west end of the city where the campus is located. So as I mentioned, the West End is kind of packed with restaurants, vintage shops, beautiful museums. Kelvin Grove Park, one of the largest in the city, borders the university. Kelvin Grove Museum and Art Gallery, which is the image in the background here, is also a stone's throw from our campus. So a really nice community feeling around the West End. Very easy to get to know people, you know, and lots to get involved in the terms of student life. We have a subway network in Glasgow, which is very, very straightforward. We have an inner circle and an outer circle that just go round and round each day. To get from the university campus into the city centre, it would be around 10 to 15 minutes on the subway, or around 30 minutes if you're walking. So as I mentioned, a compact city that's really, really easy to get around and to get to know and to settle in. So this is an aerial shot of the main campus in the west end of the city. So as you can see, I mentioned the greenery in the park that you can see here, the iconic main building, which you can kind of see across the skyline wherever you are in Glasgow. You can see the university, and lots of other facilities here. So we have one of our engineering buildings here. We have the 13-storey library here. We have the student services building, the round reading room. Down here is our medical school. You know, that kind of explains or gives you a little bit of an idea of the kind of main campus that we have at Glasgow. And we also have 3 museums on campus as well. So again, just another example of the sort of fantastic facilities that we have for students. I also wanted to just talk briefly about the development that we're doing as a university as well, and this will certainly be applicable to any students who are thinking about studying with us in years to come. The university is in the middle of investing £1 billion in expanding our campus, and this is something that we're all incredibly excited about. This is land which borders the current campus, which used to home a hospital. That hospital has now moved to a new building in another part of the city, and the university has been able to reuse the land that they owned to develop the campus. So there's going to be large interdisciplinary spaces. We're going to be engaging with industry. We're going to have a brand new business school. We're going to have a new College of Arts, a new College of Science and Engineering. And really combining kind of modern space with social space, allowing multidisciplinary working together collaboratively, you know, computer-led teaching. So really, really excited. You know, it is really going to make you know, Glasgow, you know, which is already, you know, very well known and a prestigious institution, really pushing that to the next level in terms of the quality of the facilities that we're going to have. Absolutely, you know, something that we're very, very excited about currently, and that building process is underway currently. I wanted to just spend a couple of slides talking particularly to Turkish students now. So we have a long established relationship with Turkey. I think we welcomed our first students back in the late 18th century. So our links with Turkey are well established and are strong. This year we have just over 50 students from Turkey studying with us, and that's across all levels, so at undergraduate, bachelor's level, master's, and also PhD research students that we have with us. And I'll talk about each of those in a little bit. I appreciate that there's probably a mixed attendee group here today where you might be interested in different levels, so I'll try to cover all of them briefly, and of course happy to take questions and speak to you to follow up if there's anything in particular. We have a partnership with Kent University as well, and have done since 2011. And we're also a member of the Association of Turkish Alumni and Students in Scotland, or ATAS, which is a really nice community that's all Turkish students that are studying at other Scottish universities, kind of getting together, organising events, good networking opportunities for jobs in the future, and just a sort of nice, little community there. There is quite a large sort of Turkish community in the city of Glasgow as well. And we also have a Turkish Student Society at the university as well. So this is the University of Glasgow Turkish Society. So students organise welcome events at the start of term. They go out for brunch. We have some good Turkish restaurants in Glasgow that they'll go to have dinner. So just to highlight that there is that network available, and those students are very active, if you want to get involved with that, just to show that there is a community here, that will welcome you and things. So the Turkish Society organises kind of support, as I mentioned. The picture that you can see is when the Turkish women's hockey team were playing at the championships in Scotland, and some of the students went along to support them, as you can see in the picture. They also organise kind of farewell parties at the end of term when students are graduating. They organise social events, so as you can see here, often teaming up with the University of Strathclyde, which is another university in Glasgow. So just highlighting that the society are there and happy to help and help you feel welcome. Because I appreciate studying abroad away from home can be challenging, and just it's often nice to know that there is that security of having, some people from your home country there that you can meet with and make friends with. So moving on then to talk a little bit about subject areas at Glasgow. Now, we, being one of the large ancient universities, we tend to offer most broad subject areas at Glasgow. There are a few exceptions to that. So, for example, we don't really offer anything around fine art, and our opportunities around kind of design-focused programmes and things are limited. But beyond that, we have a broad range of subjects across arts and humanities, languages, across business, computing science, education, a whole suite of engineering programmes, law, medicine, dentistry, politics, psychology, a whole range of sciences across chemistry, physics, astrophysics, and then veterinary sciences as well. So we have around 600 combinations available at undergraduate level and 300 master's programs. So unfortunately, I don't have time to talk about all of them today, but on our website, you can have a real detailed look at all of the programs that we offer at Glasgow. So please do have a look at that if you are interested. Next up, also just to highlight that we are a research-intensive university, as I mentioned at the beginning. So we offer kind of PhD and research opportunities across a broad range of subjects, but we do have some kind of key research beacons, which are the kind of main areas that we're working on as a university, and that have a real impact on a kind of international scale. These include precision medicine, looking at chronic diseases, cultural and creative economics, future life, One Health, addressing inequalities, and the nano and quantum world. And I guess one topical example of that is that academics from Glasgow were involved in the trials and research linked to the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccination, which has, I believe, just been signed off in the UK and some other parts of the world as well. So just kind of highlighting the real world-leading research that we do. And why is that relevant to you? Well, it means that you're being taught by world-leading researchers that are doing really pioneering work, and that translates into what we teach. So even at an undergraduate or bachelor's level, that knowledge and is shaping how we teach and what we teach. So certainly something that certainly helps Glasgow stand out. So we have a college structure at Glasgow. So we have 4 colleges: the College of Arts, College of Science and Engineering, College of Social Sciences, and the College of Medical, Veterinary and Life Sciences as well. So that's broadly how the subjects are split up. So I now wanted to talk a little bit about our entry requirements, and I'll talk about each level here. So entry requirements can vary from programme to programme. So taking undergraduate or bachelor's first, we do accept students directly who are studying the Turkish high school qualification. We normally require a minimum overall score of 75% or above, with at least 75% in key subjects. So that's generally the baseline that we are normally looking for in terms of the minimum. We also accept students who are doing A-levels, anything from an A and 2Bs up to 3As. Also any students doing the IB, could be 32 to 38 points, again, depending on the programme. And also students doing the American system, so SATs, APs, etc. We also accept those. I don't think I've included them in this presentation, but more information about that is available on the website if you are doing the kind of American curriculum. At postgraduate level, we welcome applications from students who have completed their bachelor's degree in Turkey and who have a minimum GPA of about 3.0 out of 4 is normally kind of what we require, generally speaking. At research level, students will be looking to identify a potential supervisor before applying. So with that in mind, we would be looking for students to have kind of developed a research proposal, at least the basis of it, and use our search function to identify academics who are active in a similar area, and then look to attempt to identify someone who might be able to or willing and suitable to supervise your research project at Glasgow. Just to highlight that we do work with Glasgow International College, or we have Glasgow International College as part of the university campus, which is run by Kaplan. And just to highlight that they run both foundation programmes and pre-masters programmes. So in the UK, a bachelor's programme is normally 4 years of study in Scotland, sorry. So in the other parts of the UK, it can be 3 years, but in Scotland it is 4. At master's level, the vast majority of our master's programmes are 1 year in length. There are a couple of exceptions to that, but the standard in the UK is normally 1 year for a master's programme. So if your grades are a little bit lower than the ones I've just talked about, there is the opportunity for you to come and do a foundation programme before your bachelor's study. That just replaces year 1 of the programme that you would do at Glasgow. It means you do a slightly different year 1, and then provided you progress, you would move to year 2 of the undergraduate programme at Glasgow. And we have pathway routes through business and social science, and also science and engineering. But it is worth noting that not every programme has a pathway route. Same with pre-masters. If your GPA is below that 3.0 that we normally look for, there is the option for you to do a 1-year pre-masters, and then upon successful completion, you would then progress to complete the 1-year masters at Glasgow, meaning that you would be studying for a total of 2 years. But you are a Glasgow student, you're able to use all of the facilities, join the clubs and societies, make use of the library, all of the facilities that I talked about. So just to highlight that that is an option as well, and we work very closely with colleagues from Kaplan. Very quickly, one other, aside from the academic requirements, we would also be looking for you to be able to demonstrate your level of English language. IELTS being the most common test that you'll probably all have heard of. For most programmes, we look for an overall score of 6.5. with no subject test less than 6. So for the speaking, reading, listening and writing, we would need you to have at least 6. There are a couple of programmes which require a 7.0 overall, but those requirements are detailed on each of the web pages on our website. So please do have a look, and the requirements will be available there. We also accept TOEFL, we accept Cambridge, we accept PTE Academic. Just be mindful that not all UK universities accept those, though. So if you're applying to more than one university, I would say just be mindful of do your research in terms of what they're looking for. IELTS would probably be the most universal one in the UK. Also, just to highlight that we are continuing to be flexible as a result of COVID-19. I know that for a long time, many test centres were closed and it was very difficult for students to take these tests. So as a result, we kind of were a bit broadening out what we were accepting. So we are now accepting a few online English language tests, such as Duolingo and TOEFL at Home. So again, more information about all of that on our website as well. If your level of English is a little bit below what we need, we also offer University of Glasgow pre-sessional English language programmes as well. So this normally means that you would just come to the UK a little bit earlier and do a period of intense English language before you begin your course. And if you successfully pass that course, you would then progress on to the degree at Glasgow, and you wouldn't need to take another IELTS test, for example. We have a number of different courses ranging from 36 weeks to 10 weeks, depending on your current level of English. And we also have a short bridging programme available, which is just a short 5-week programme as well. So again, just something to be mindful of. If you're a little bit below the requirements with your English language, there is the option to come and do pre-sessional at Glasgow as well. Now, I'm conscious of time because I do want to leave time for questions, but so I appreciate that I'm firing a lot of information at you quite quickly. Hello to those who have just joined. So I just wanted to talk now a little bit about how to apply both at undergraduate and postgraduate level. So applying at undergraduate level, if you're applying to the UK, the most common system is the UCAS application system, which all UK universities use. As part of that, you have 5 choices. So you can apply to up to 5 UK universities or 5 different courses. That choice is yours. Deadlines can be flexible. The kind of official deadline is normally the 15th of January for equal consideration. That has been extended by a few weeks this year because of the ongoing pandemic. And at Glasgow, for international students, we accept applications right up until June for the programme starting in September. You can also apply via Common App if you wanted to, which is more the US system, but just note that you can't apply to both. If you're applying through UCAS, you can't then get some extra choices via Common App, so it would generally be one or the other. In terms of applying for postgraduate courses, so for a master's programme, you would just be applying directly to the university via our website. So at the bottom of each programme page, there is an Apply Now button that you can click, and you can submit your application. So applications for next year are open now and have been since October, November time. You can apply before you have completed your current studies or before you have your final transcript and diploma. You can also apply before you have taken an English language test. If we do make you an offer, that offer will just be conditional upon you achieving a certain GPA or achieving a certain grade in your English language test. So you can apply early. Sometimes the earlier the better, to allow you to begin to make plans. We do have a number of programs that are also very popular and often heavy, oversubscribed. So with those, we have a kind of phased application process. So again, details about all of that are on the website, or if anyone has specific questions about that, I can work through those at the end of this presentation. As I mentioned, for research students, there's a Find a Supervisor tool. Generally, we don't have application fees for the vast majority of our programmes, but we do for our Adam Smith Business School programmes, just because of the sheer volume of applications that we get each year, and that's a £25 application fee. But all other programmes out with those business school masters, there is no fee and there is no charge for you to apply. So moving on to tuition fees and scholarships now. So at undergraduate level, we offer a number of scholarships, which I'll talk about in a minute. But this gives you an idea of the kind of academic fees per year for the subjects. So these vary slightly depending on the programme that's on offer. So as you'll see, the arts, humanities and social science programmes are around £19,350 per year, and our STEM, so our science and engineering and related programmes are £23,000 per year. As you'll see, when it comes to the clinical programmes like dentistry and medicine, the price jumps significantly. This is just down to the way these programmes are funded by the National Health Service in the UK. So all of the clinical training that's undertaken for international students, all of the placements in hospitals, means that there is a kind of premium charged for those programmes, and you can see the fees for those programmes there. So we do have some scholarships to support students. So at undergraduate level, we have our International Undergraduate Excellence Scholarships. So these are awards of £5,000 per year of study. So given the 4 years that you would study, it would be a total award of £20,000 in total. Just to highlight that for some programmes, we also do offer advanced entry, meaning that depending on your grades, you could potentially come into year 2 of the programme, so study with us for 3 years, bringing us more in line with England. What I didn't talk about earlier was the kind of advantages of the 4-year degree. And people often ask, why is it 4 years in Scotland when it's only 3 in the rest of the UK? And the answer kind of to that is that's how it's always been. You normally begin by studying a broad range of subjects, and then you specialise once you know what you want to specialise in. So you try and test normally 3 subjects, and then you narrow that down to either 1 or 2 at the end of your second year. So it's good for students who aren't maybe 100% sure what they want to do, or who want to team 2 subjects together. And it's something that kind of seems to bear out well when it comes to looking at graduate statistics and earnings of graduates from Scottish institutions. The level of those graduates going into full-time employment is higher than the rest of the UK average, and their starting salary is higher than the rest of the UK average as well. And we think that's in part down to we're developing our graduates to have a broad knowledge across different areas. So that's kind of one of the advantages we would see, but there is no getting away from the fact it is an extra year of study, and therefore we have these scholarships in place to support that. Now, there is no separate application for these scholarships. You will be assessed when you apply. So looking at your high school grades, your GPA from your Turkish high school diploma or A-levels or IB. So no separate application is needed. And you'll normally be notified about that within 2 weeks of receiving your offer. So you will then know whether you will be offered one of these scholarships, which might help you when you're deciding which university you might want to choose to study at. At postgraduate top level, looking at tuition fees, I've just picked out a number of subjects to look at here. So again, there's a kind of sliding scale depending on the program. So our MSc Oral Sciences is 19,350. The MBA program is up over 29,000. Other programs sitting anywhere between about 18 up to about 24, 25, depending on the program. But again, on each web page for each subject, you will see details about the tuition fees and also all of the scholarships that you might be eligible for as well. So applicants again are kind of generally automatically assessed for a number of our university scholarships. So at Glasgow we have a number of international leadership awards, which are £10,000 for master's level. We also then do have some subject specific awards as well. So for computing science, for example, or individual subjects, creative writing, literature, there's often specific scholarships. But just be mindful, some you don't have to apply, some you do, some have deadlines, some don't. So I would just make this part of the research that you're doing in terms of just being mindful of what support you might be eligible for, and just to make sure that you don't miss any deadlines so that you can apply in plenty of time. Also, just to highlight that there are some external awards that students often apply for. So, for example, we currently have a number of Ministry of Education sponsored students at Glasgow, studying both Masters and PhD programmes. We have Chevening Scholars, the Jean Monnet Scholarship as well for Turkish students. And also just before the festive break, we were awarded one great scholarship for Turkey, which will be linked to programmes related to sustainability, and that's a full scholarship covering all tuition fee. So yeah, you know, lots of potential funding avenues for you to investigate, and the link there is just to the scholarship search function on our website. So you can put in your nationality, the program you're interested in, and that will bring up all of the scholarships that you might be eligible for. Now that takes me nicely on to talking a little bit about the cost of living in Glasgow. So as I've already mentioned, we're the 4th biggest city in the UK, but according to What University, we're also the 4th most affordable student city in the UK, which is often quite surprising. Bigger cities are often potentially more expensive to live in. So I think compared to some of the other big cities in the UK, certainly compared to London, Glasgow is a much more affordable city to live in terms of accommodation, but also getting around and general living costs. So this is a very approximate guide that we've worked with some current students to develop. This is by no means exact. I think it would be safe to say that you could spend less than this. Some students I've spoken to say they average about £700 to £800 per month. It really comes down to you. You know, I think your biggest expense will be accommodation. Then how much you spend on food will depend, well, can you cook? Or are you eating out and getting takeaways every night? Do you need to be spending £70 a month on clothes? Probably not. Travel will depend on how often you want to travel around Scotland. Do you want to go down to London to visit? You might have a friend studying there, for example. So, it really depends on you, but hopefully this gives you a kind of rough idea when budgeting. I would say anywhere between about £800 and £1,000 you will be able to live comfortably. Coming to the UK on a student visa means that you can work for up to 20 hours per week as well. So many students do work to kind of help fund their living costs, but just be mindful that you can only work for 20 hours per week as an international student. And I would also say just be mindful of the impact that can have on your studies as well. So just trying to get that balance right between working and studying as well. On that note, also just to highlight that kind of one sort of good development recently was the reintroduction of the post-study work visa, or the student to graduate route. So meaning that graduates from UK universities from overseas will now be able to remain in the UK after their studies to find work or an employment. So that was something that we've been campaigning to be reintroduced for a number of years, and we're really pleased that that is back. So for those students who might be interested in remaining in the UK after their studies, that opportunity has become a little bit easier now, you know, to help you kind of find a job. And we'll talk about this in a minute, but we do also have a career service, a dedicated team who can help with finding work, and whether that be part-time or graduate opportunities as well. So last couple of slides from me before I take questions. So just to highlight that we have a real broad range of support available at the university, something that we're quite proud of in terms of the way we support our students. So we have a accommodation support team, and I'll talk about that in the next slide. We have a dedicated international student support team. Just now, for example, they're organising orientation events for students who are just beginning their studies online or that are coming to the UK. They also provide help with visas. So if you need any questions answered regarding the visa process, then we have a dedicated team who are there to help. We have a disability service for any students who need any additional support. The career service that I mentioned, so advertising part-time jobs on campus or around the city, but also helping with things like writing your CV or your resume. They also do mock interviews. They do a lot in terms of organising events where large organisations come to campus to recruit our students. Again, because of Glasgow's ranking and reputation, many employers do come to Glasgow to look to hire our students, and our career service organise a lot of activity in that area. And we have a counselling team as well. So if you ever needed any support or any counselling, that exists as well. In terms of organisations and sport, we have 2 student unions. We have over 250 clubs and societies, from the Turkish Student Society that I mentioned to ones focused on academic subjects to the weird and wonderful, like the Coffee Appreciation Society and things. So lots of ways to make friends. Glasgow's, as I mentioned before, a really welcoming place, and the campus is a really vibrant place in normal times, where it's really nice community and a good place to get to know people. And if for anyone who's particularly sporty, we have a swimming pool. We have sports teams that you can join that are at different levels that compete against other UK universities and things. So if you are a particularly sporty person, there's absolutely some fantastic facilities, a new gym which was just built a couple of years ago, and lots of facilities for you to get involved in. Accommodation, we have both undergraduate and postgraduate accommodation options. We guarantee a place for international students, provided you've applied by the deadline, which is normally August, before programmes starting in September. The fees vary depending on if you want your own room with your own toilet, or whether you're happy to share bathroom facilities. You will always have your own room. We don't have dorms. But again, the cost depends on what you're looking for. If you want a studio flat, obviously that is more expensive than just having a room. We have staff on hand, very safe, all within walking distance of campus, other than one residence, and we include a bus pass as part of that, so that you can easily get from the residence to campus. That one is catered. The rest are all non-catered or self-catered, so you'll have a kitchen that you will be able to use, and you'll be sharing that with some other students as well. Student support I've already touched upon, so I won't dwell too much on that. Just to highlight, we also have a chaplaincy service for students of particular faiths or no faith. We have a doctor's surgery on campus as well. And also just to highlight that we have a kind of Ask a Student system, which I'll talk about before I wrap this up. How to get here, there's a direct flight from Edinburgh Airport to Istanbul. That's normally how I go when I'm travelling to Turkey. From Edinburgh Airport to Glasgow, it's about 1 hour on a bus, and there's a direct bus from outside the terminal building at Edinburgh, which takes you straight to Glasgow in around 1 hour. There are obviously other routes. You could fly via London or via Amsterdam. So, in normal times, when there are normal flights, lots of options to get either to Glasgow via somewhere or direct to Edinburgh, and then coming through to Glasgow from there. So Turkish Airlines from Edinburgh is normally how I would do it. So really, really easy. And London is only just over 1 hour away by by plane. By train, it's about 5 hours from Glasgow to London, so a bit of a distance, but you know, easy to get around the rest of the UK. Final slide for me before I lose my voice and can take some questions, just to highlight that we have this Ask a Student system on our website. So we have a couple of Turkish students on there, so you can filter by nationality or by level of study or by programme, and that will bring up some current students that you can ask about their experience of studying at Glasgow. We don't tell them what to say, we provide some basic training, but it's a chance for you to speak to a current Glasgow student if you want to find out what is it like to study there, you know, how expensive is it, what are the facilities like. And there are also some staff. I have a profile on there. Some of my colleagues from the academic schools have profiles on there as well. So just to highlight, we are happy to help. I will share my email address. We also work with some partners in Turkey who can help you with your application as well. We have their details on our Turkish page on our website. So please just do keep in touch and let me know if you have any questions. So thank you all for listening. I appreciate that I tried to cover a lot of information in quite a short period of time there. I'll leave this slide up while I work through some questions, so please feel free to contact me if you have any questions at all. That is my email address. I'm more than happy to help. So yeah, thank you all for your attention. I'm conscious that I tried to cover a lot and there was probably some areas that I maybe didn't talk about. So I'll maybe now start working through the questions from the bottom. So if anyone has any more questions, please do type them in and I'll try my best to answer them, and we can take it from there. So thank you all. So let me begin at the bottom. So we have a question from Ender. So I work as a finance specialist at Turkish Petroleum. I had my MSc in accounting and financial management at the University of Essex with sponsorship. I wondered about PhD opportunities and scholarships, especially for working professionals. So MSc in the UK, do I still need to take exams in order to be accepted? Thanks, Ender. Really good question. If students have completed a certain number of studies in the UK or an English-speaking language for a particular period of time, we are sometimes able to waive the English language requirement. It can just depend when you did that. So that depends. In terms of scholarships at PhD level, they can be a little bit trickier to find, but they do exist. So again, I would urge you to have a look on the website. Definitely something to also highlight with any potential supervisors you're looking to engage with. They're often aware of pots of funding that I'm not, that I don't know about. So some funding, some scholarships do exist, but I think they're a little bit trickier to find sometimes. But please do keep in touch with me. You know, if there's anything I can do to help, you know, absolutely. You know, we would be looking at your transcripts from your studies at Essex and things. So hopefully that would mean that you wouldn't need to take too many or any additional tests, just depending on the circumstances. So yeah, short answer, they do exist, but they can be tricky, and often the kind of academics within those areas are best placed to know about those pockets of funding. But definitely use the kind of search function on our website. Our next question is around, do you want a bit or accreditation for your supply chain department? I'm not entirely sure the answer to that one, Chikan. Sorry, I'm not entirely sure. One thing to mention is we don't really have many programs around logistics or supply chain management. There are elements of that in some of our top masters, but I do know some other universities offer kind of out-and-out programs in that area, so they might be a better fit than Glasgow. But I'm afraid I'm not overly familiar with that accreditation. So sorry, I must admit I don't really know the answer to that one. So I'm very sorry. Next up, we have one from Kamal. So I have a 2.27 GPA. So is it possible for me to be accepted? We normally look for a minimum of 3.0, Kamal. So you are a little bit below what we would normally look for, I'm afraid. As I mentioned, there could be the route to look at doing a pre-masters. Obviously, that would mean that you would need to study for 2 years rather than just 1. But I think your current GPA is probably just a little bit too low for direct entry. Obviously, you know, other universities in the UK, you know, might be a little bit more flexible with that. And if you do want any more information about the pre-masters, then, you know, please do let me know if I can help with that. Okay, so Sena has asked, is there any scholarship opportunities for international students? So hopefully I kind of covered that during the presentation. You know, so absolutely £5,000 per year at undergraduate level, university up to about £10,000, and a number of awards at master's level, and then of course some external funding opportunities as well. So hopefully those slides kind of covered that. But again, we have the scholarships function on the website. Next up we have the website of Clinical Psychology Masters Programme. There's a statement as follows: trainees are funded through NHS Scotland. Which page university to use? Could you please explain it? So yeah, so that's just how that programme is structured. It's kind of funded by the National Health Service for students to kind of go on for the clinical psychology. Doesn't mean that it's impossible, as far as I'm aware, for international students to study, but I think the way that the programme is structured just makes it slightly more challenging. What I would say, Kansu, is please do get in touch with me if you want to talk about that in more detail. What I would probably do is try to put you in touch with someone from the psychology programme. There might be contact information on that page, and if there is, I would certainly urge you to get in touch with my colleagues in the psychology department. I'm not based within that school or college, so I must admit my knowledge of exactly how that works is not great. So sorry, I appreciate that. It's not really answering the question. But yeah, that's funded slightly differently because it kind of leads to employment within the National Health Service, which can make it tricky for international students. So probably best to be one to discuss with the psychology department if you don't mind. What do we have to do to be accepted? So hopefully I kind of covered that, Almina. Hopefully I talked about how to apply, entry requirements. So hopefully we've covered that, but please do let me know if you want to ask anything else about that. Ada asks, do you offer pre-sessional English if you don't reach the language requirement? Yes. Again, hopefully I talked about that on that slide. So yeah, we offer a number of pre-sessional English programs, and again, we have a dedicated web page about the different courses and which one would be the best for you based on your current level of English. So we normally need you to submit a current English language test that then allows the team to basically allocate you to the right program that will help you to get to the level that we need you to be at by the time the program starts. So yes, absolutely. Next up, we have a question about, please can you inform about the application progress duration? How many weeks or months does it take after submitting documents? Good question. Thank you. That can vary depending on the program. Everything has been taking a little bit longer than usual at the moment. We're all still working from home. You probably can't tell, but I'm in my spare room still. So as a result, the lead-in and processing times are a little bit longer this year than they normally would be. We're probably looking at around a month's turnaround time currently. The university has, however, just been closed for 2 weeks for the Christmas and New Year break, meaning that there will be a bit of a backlog to get through. So probably 1 month to 6 weeks generally. And for some programs, we do have phased applications. So around the business school and computing science and data science, there are kind of windows that we look at applications and set dates, but all of the details about that are on those individual websites. In terms of making the application, hopefully it's fairly straightforward. You just upload copies of your transcripts, copies of your English language test results, your letter of motivation, your references, all uploaded directly via the website. But in terms of turnaround time, currently probably looking at between a month to 6 weeks minimum at the moment, but maybe not quite as long as that. We're working hard to turn things around as quickly as we can. Is there a career centre, asks Ada? Does the university help or support students to find a job? Yep. Again, Ada, hopefully I answered that during the presentation, but yep, we have the career service. My advice is, make use of them. Go and see them. If you come to Glasgow, go to their events, get networking. We often organise guest lectures where individuals from industry, often graduates of Glasgow that are now in senior positions, come back to lead workshop sessions and things. I would say sign up to the career service newsletter, engage with them, and absolutely, lots of support available for you. So yeah, hopefully, and again, we have a career service website page on our website, so you can have a look at that. Kansu is asking, so you must have the British Psychological Society graduate basis and provide proof of this. Usually takes the form of a single or joint honours. Yeah, so this was the relating back to the psychology programme again, Kansu. Yeah, so yeah, again, I must admit that I'm not an expert on this particular subjects or programs, so definitely think it would probably be best for you to speak to someone from the program. But yeah, it looks like you need to have the British Psychological Society kind of accreditation from your previous studies, so that can make, as I mentioned, it challenging for international students if you haven't studied your degree in the UK, and just the way the program is funded and things makes that trickier. So yeah, I'm sorry that I'm not an expert on that, and I appreciate I'm not really giving you much helpful information, but I would say get in touch with my colleagues in the psychology department and they'll know a lot more about it and be able to give you a little bit more help and advice. So sorry that I can't answer that a little bit more fully, so I'm sorry about that. What are the requirements to study computing science? Again, Sydney, that will depend on whether that's the undergraduate program or the master's program. Generally looking for, if it's undergraduate, about 75%, with 75% minimum in key subjects. If it's for a master's, we're normally looking for you to have a background in a related discipline, and a minimum GPA of at least 3 out of 4. Is normally the minimum that we're looking for. But again, please do get in touch with us if that isn't clear, or if you have any questions about that. What are the scholarship opportunities for a master's degree in education? So again, those awards of up to £10,000 for the master's programs are probably the most generous that we offer. So again, and thanks for the question, I would say definitely have a look at the scholarship search function on the website to have a look at all of the options that might be available. Any facilities for internships at well-known companies during our studies? Yeah, good question. I mean, I think we have really close links with industry, both small tech startups in Glasgow and large multinational organisations. So yeah, absolutely, we have students who have done internships at the big 4 accountancy firms, at large engineering companies. We have graduates in really senior positions across all sorts of disciplines. So yeah, I think good question, but again, our career service can help with that. Some master's programs have that kind of element built in, where you get that kind of opportunity for internships and work experience. But yeah, given our global ranking as a world top 100 university, we do have good links with industry through a number of different routes and different organisations. So, but again, on the career service website, there's a little bit more detail about what that means, and some testimonials, and some there's a podcast as well where we kind of speak to alumni that are now talking about their experience of where they're working and giving current students tips and advice and guidance and things. So absolutely have a look at the website, and hopefully that will help. Damla, perfect. I'm interested in the master's program in biomedical sciences. I want to learn about scholarship opportunities. How many are awarded each year? So of those £10,000 leadership awards that I mentioned, we have 100 of those per year generally, but there are some other smaller awards or partial awards or things. So yeah, we I would say it's hard to give you a total for that particular subject, but again, I think have a look at the website, make sure that you're aware of everything that you might be eligible for, and we try to make sure that we distribute those as evenly as possible across subjects and across countries and nationalities. Being responsible for Turkey, will always kind of be fighting to make sure that those awards are some of them are allocated to Turkish students. So hard to give a definitive answer to that one, Dama, but I would say we are investing a lot in terms of scholarship opportunities for students. So hopefully there might be something that you might be eligible for. Kansu asks, is it possible to work when studying at the same time? Yep, on a student visa you can work for up to 20 hours per week. I've been in the Erasmus project once before. Will this be effective in my selection? Good question, Fatma. I mean, I think it's definitely something to mention. I think obviously you'll have experience of international study and studying in a different culture and things. So if you have a letter of motivation for your program, it's certainly worth mentioning that you have that experience. It's not mandatory. We don't need students to have it, but if you have it, then great. I would certainly mention it, and it might help. Do you offer pre-sessional English? Yes, we do. I think I've cancelled that one. Are there any rules about cancelling scholarships that we've gained? So generally, Cancer, you would normally be assessed at the time of application. So normally if you're looking like you're going to meet the requirements, then you would be offered that, at that stage. So that's a kind of rolling process that happens throughout the year, and there isn't any requirements for you to meet certain grades once you're studying with us either. Once you've had the award, then that's it, allocated. And sorry, I'm conscious we're running out of time, so I'm just going to run through the rest of these as quickly as I can. And please do let me know via email if you have any questions. So I've completed IGCSE and IB, student at Beal Kent. What could be the scholarship opportunities for me? Is there any kind of transfer? Umit, so I think the link that we have with Beal Kent is currently focused around politics, whether there's a possibility for exchange. You might be eligible for the £5,000 per year International Excellence Scholarship. When you apply, you would just be uploading both your IB results and also your transcripts from Beal Kent from your current studies, and our admissions team would have a look at your eligibility for any financial support. How can we get a scholarship? Again, often you just apply, your application is processed automatically, and we'll look at your GPA. Others you will have to apply and perhaps write a letter of motivation, and you will be perhaps interviewed ahead of the scholarship or have to write a piece of work. So it kind of depends, is the short answer, depending on the scholarship. Hello, I'm studying dentistry in Turkey and I want to do a 1-year exchange to the University of Glasgow. How can we do that? As far as I'm aware, NJ, I don't think that's possible. I think kind of transfers and exchanges within the clinical programs are generally very, very difficult and generally don't exist, unfortunately. But have a look on the dental school website about international opportunities. But as far as I'm aware, we kind of don't offer a kind of 1-year exchange or anything like that as part of the dentistry program, I'm afraid, unfortunately. I'm interested in studying abroad. What should I do to be accepted into Glasgow? Hopefully I've kind of covered that one, Amina. So I've talked about our requirements, talked about how you apply, what you need to include as part of your application. But again, if there's anything specific I can help with, please do drop me an email and let me know. I study in Turkey, but I also have a UK settlement. Do I apply the same way as other international students? Damn, a good question. All students apply the same way, whether you're international or Scottish or UK. It's the same application. You would just upload copies of your passports or your documentation as part of your application, and our admissions team would assess your kind of eligibility and things depending on your fees and whatnot. So it's the same application process. Admissions would just decide, or give you information about that. Final few to try and rush through in the next 4 minutes. Research positions, is it possible to use a carrier service for finding work? How's a language school for preschool program? Yes. Honestly, Mikael, that's maybe one to get in touch with someone from the PG college around. I'm not entirely sure about the kind of carrier service. The language school course and pre-sessional programme, fully accredited, a good reputation, and if you pass that, you can progress on to the Glasgow programme. So certainly can answer that bit. The first part of your question, I must admit, I'm not entirely sure, but one that maybe you could email me about, or I could try and speak to the school about. I'm an IB student at Beal Kent High School. Will IB exams grade 12 be enough for an English level? It can depend, Sunny. So again, there's information about that on our website. But generally speaking, if you can kind of display your level of English, we'll try not to force you to do the English language test if we can avoid it. But often students doing the high school qualifications will still need to do the IELTS test as well. But again, that's one that you can pick up with me directly. If you are thinking about applying, just drop me an email. For psychology, MA or PhD, what score should we take from IELTS or TOEFL? All on the website. I think normally 6.5 for those programs, I think, with no subtest less than 6. Will Brexit affect international students? Good question, Elena. A hard one to answer in such a short period of time. I mean, I think yes and no. I mean, I think obviously as a Turkish student coming to the UK, you would always have required a visa. Obviously, EU students will now need that. EU students will be eligible for the kind of same fees and eligible for the same scholarships as non-EU international students. So it shouldn't really change much for non-EU students. I would just like to try and reiterate that Scotland is a very friendly, welcoming and open place. I think Brexit has perhaps damaged the UK's reputation a little bit, but we are still a very outward-looking university. I think one challenge might be around Erasmus and exchanges and things, but that's something that, we're still working through. So hopefully, we're trying to limit the damage of that to students, but hopefully, there's a new graduate route allowing you to stay in the UK after your studies and things. So hopefully there are some positives that might come from Brexit as well. Thank you so much for your time. I couldn't catch the answer. Could you answer again? Sorry, Elena. So that was, let me try and scroll down. Oh, I can't see that one anymore. Sorry. I've missed that question, but drop me an email. Thanks, Mark. No problem at all. Islamic studies. Yeah, not really something we focus on at Glasgow, Elena. We don't really have an out-and-out Islamic studies program, I'm afraid. So, yeah, sorry about that, but you can see a full list of all of the programs on the website. Damla, thank you. So it looks like I've kind of answered all of them, I think. My email address is there, so please do let me know if there's anything I've missed or anything that I couldn't answer properly and you want to discuss. Please do keep in touch. Thank you all very much for your time today. I hope it was interesting and informative. I hope that you've learned a little bit more about Glasgow and maybe are interested in studying with us. So yep, thank you all for your time. Thanks for coming. Do keep in touch and stay safe. I know that this is a challenging time for everyone with the pandemic and things, so please do look after yourselves and do keep in touch, and we hope that we might see you in Glasgow sometime soon. So thank you all for your time and take care. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. We believe it was a really comprehensive webinar for the participants. Also, I would like to thank in Turkish the participants. Katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz. Yarınki webinarlarımıza da davet etmek isteriz. Thank you again. It was a pleasure to have you in IEFT Talks, Mark.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and thanks to you for all of your help as well. I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.